The vastness of space was silent, almost too silent. Stars burned like distant candles in the darkness, and planets rotated slowly around their suns, unaware of the events unfolding across light years. In one corner of the galaxy, the Council of the Nine, the governing body of the Galactic Coalition, gathered in the shimmering chambers of the Arches station. Alien representatives of every known species floated or stood in the room, their eyes fixed on a strange signal glowing on the central display. The signal was faint but persistent, pulsing in a steady rhythm. It was unlike any cosmic pattern they had ever seen. The Coalition scientists had intercepted countless broadcasts, distress calls, trade signals, military warnings. Yet this was different. "Analysis is complete," said Syra, the blue-skinned historian from the Ryon species. Her multiple eyes blinked rapidly as she scrolled through data streams. "It originates from the Sol system. The coordinates correspond to the region we know as Earth's orbit." A murmur ran through the council. Earth, long forgotten. The humans had disappeared centuries ago, leaving behind little more than myths and scattered records. Most species considered them primitive, a minor species that could not survive interstellar challenges. Yet here, out of the black emptiness, came a message. Syra's claw hovered over the display, and the faint crackle of a voice filled the chamber. "To whoever listens, remember this truth. War has a price you'll regret." The voice was rough, human. There was no AI modulation, no alien tone, just a human voice carrying weight and warning. Silence followed. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. None spoke immediately. Finally, Karan, the emissary of the Luthari, a species known for their logical minds and immense size, leaned forward. "Are we to believe this is genuine?" he asked. "The humans. They are extinct. Entire system destroyed by their own wars, if our records are correct." "How could this be?" Syra shook her head. "That is why we must treat it seriously. There is no reason for a dead species to leave a warning unless they intended it. Perhaps they left something behind. Something to remind us." Another voice broke the tension. This time it was small and sharp. Rin, the young scholar from the avian cluster, spoke with the enthusiasm and curiosity of youth. "Perhaps it is just a relic," Rin said. "A record of their history, a warning to no one. Nothing more." But the transmission pulsed again. "War has a price you'll regret." The repetition was deliberate. The Coalition had recorded it dozens of times now, and each time the voice seemed to grow more insistent. Syra turned to the council. "We should not ignore it. Our sensors detect energy signatures around the inner planets of Sol. They are old, perhaps decades, but there is activity. Automated systems still functioning. We cannot say for certain what they are, but they are not natural." Corin frowned. "If humans left these systems, what did they leave behind? Are we to believe they set traps?" Rin shivered despite herself. "Traps for whom?" "For anyone who comes after them," Syra said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed concern. "For anyone who underestimates the cost of war." The council debated for hours, voices rising and falling in heated discussion. Some urged caution, fearing a possible hidden threat. Others argued curiosity must guide them. After all, knowledge of the humans could advance science and technology by centuries. Finally, they reached a decision. A small research fleet would travel to the Sol system to investigate. They would attempt communication, scan abandoned colonies, and uncover the truth behind the message. As the fleet prepared to depart, the central display flickered once more. The human voice repeated the warning. "War has a price you'll regret." Thousands of light years away, in the abandoned cities of Earth, the echoes of humanity lingered. Towers crumbled into silence, streets were cracked and empty, and machines hummed faintly beneath the ruins. The humans were gone, but their presence was not entirely erased. Deep underground, in a facility long sealed, an automated system powered up. Lights blinked on as the old machines tested themselves. Centuries-old computers whirred to life, checking circuits, sensors, and defense arrays. Every system hummed in careful synchronization, as if waiting for something or someone. The humans who had built this place were long dead, victims of their own relentless wars. Yet they had not left the galaxy empty-handed. Every weapon, every defense system, every piece of technology had been programmed to carry one final message: a lesson in consequence. Above ground, the sun rose over a ruined city. The wind carried the faint metallic taste of decay, The streets were empty but not silent. Somewhere, a drone stirred, its sensors detecting movement in the distance. Its programming, centuries old, guided it like an invisible hand. Back on Arcus Station, the Coalition fleet approached Sol. Planets appeared on the screens, each one a frozen relic of humanity's past. Venus scorched and lifeless, Mars quiet and hollow, the blue jewel of Earth scarred and broken. Rin stared at the display, her wings trembling slightly. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "And yet, so sad." Corin grunted. "Sad? It is nothing more than ruins. Humans are gone. We should expect nothing but dust and echoes." Sira shook her head. "You do not understand, Corin. Humans, they left more than dust. They left a message, and sometimes a message is more dangerous than a weapon." As the fleet descended toward Earth, their sensors detected unexpected readings. Automated machinery stirred in response to their presence. Lights blinked on abandoned towers. Defense systems, long dormant, scanned the skies. One of the ships, a sleek reconnaissance vessel from the Oran species, moved closer to the ruins of New York. Its sensors detected a strange energy field, pulsing in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. "Commander," the Oran pilot said, voice tight, "we are detecting something. It's old but active. I don't know what it is, but it's powerful." The fleet commander frowned. "Scan for life signs." The results came back none. Humans were gone, yet the systems continued to function. It was as if the city itself was alive, awake, and watching. The human voice came again, now through the fleet's communication systems, carried by a signal that had traveled across centuries. "To whoever listens, remember this truth. War has a price you'll regret." The council members stared at the screens, unease settling over them. What had humans meant? Were they warning the galaxy of something they had created? Or were they issuing a moral lesson from beyond the grave? Rin spoke softly, almost to herself. Maybe they wanted us to remember that war is not victory. War is loss. War is a price no one should pay lightly. Corin growled softly. "Philosophy will not protect us from what is here. If humans built traps, we will pay, and we will not forgive their ghosts." Syra's eyes glimmered with a mixture of awe and fear. "Perhaps that is the point, Corin. Perhaps the humans' greatest victory is not in surviving, but in teaching others that war is never free." As the fleet hovered above the ruined cities, shadows moved below. Machines awakened, sensors aligned, and the silent guardians of humanity stirred into life. Somewhere in the distance, the transmission repeated again. "War has a price you'll regret." The message was no longer just a voice. It was a presence. It was a warning. And it was only the beginning. In that moment, every member of the Coalition realized something unsettling. Humans were gone, but they had left behind a legacy far stronger than anyone had imagined. A warning, a lesson, a challenge. And in the heart of the silent ruins of Earth, the galaxy would soon learn that humanity's final act was not surrender, but a message that could change the course of history forever. The Coalition fleet drifted silently above the ruined cities of Earth. Shadows of the past stretched across the cracked streets, but the silence was deceptive. Deep below the surface, hidden beneath layers of rubble and soil, the machinery of a long-lost civilization stirred to life. Automated systems, designed centuries before, activated in careful synchronization, monitoring the skies and scanning the approaching ships. Syra, the historian, floated beside the command console aboard the Arches flagship. Her eyes, deep and reflective, followed the data streams pouring in from the reconnaissance vessels. The humans had left behind archives scattered across the solar system. Crumbling data cores, ancient servers, and encrypted messages formed a mosaic of their history, one filled with courage, ingenuity, and relentless persistence. They were not weak, Sira whispered, almost to herself. Even when faced with impossible odds, they fought, and they endured. Humans never surrendered. Rin, still wide-eyed with wonder, leaned closer. They fought each other too? Wars on their own planet, why? Sira's gaze softened, but her voice carried a note of caution. Conflict was part of their history, but it was also their teacher. Every war taught them something. How to survive, how to adapt, how to fight when hope seemed lost. And they left those lessons behind for us to find. Coran, ever skeptical, grunted. Lessons or traps? You speak of history as if it will save us, Sira. But humans, they were clever. Too clever, Syra nodded. That is why the warnings exist. Not to frighten, but to remind. Their last message was not despair, it was understanding. War carries consequences, and humans understood the cost better than anyone. The Council directed the fleet to investigate a cluster of old human colonies on Mars. Years of warfare had left the planet barren and silent, yet beneath the red dust, structures remained intact, surprisingly resilient. Automated systems hummed in the deep underground complexes, their sensors active but dormant, waiting for any sign of life or threat. As the fleet scanned the colonies, fragments of human history began to surface. Reports from Earth's archives detailed centuries of resistance. Against enemies far stronger in numbers, humans relied not on sheer strength but on strategy, adaptability, and a fierce determination to survive. In one ancient data core, the Council found records of a human settlement that had resisted a vastly superior alien force for decades. Though their technology was older, humans had used ingenuity to turn every disadvantage into an advantage. Tunnels, traps, and secret defenses had allowed them to endure attacks that would have wiped out any other civilization. Rin read aloud from the records, voice trembling with awe. They made the enemy pay for every victory. Every attack had a cost. Even when it seemed like they were losing, they found a way to make the war difficult, almost impossible to win. Corin slammed a fist against the console. This is exactly what I feared. If they were like this even before the last war, imagine what they left behind for us to find now. Syra's expression hardened. That is the point, Corin. Humans never saw war as a simple struggle. To them, war was survival, and survival meant making the cost of violence clear to everyone. Meanwhile, the young scholar noticed an unusual pattern in the automated defenses. They were not random. Each system seemed to respond as if it anticipated multiple threats, adjusting strategies in real time. It was almost as if the machines themselves carried a fragment of human thought, an echo of strategy that had guided them in life. They are learning, Rin whispered. Not alive, but learning. Responding to threats as if they remember humans' choices. Syra nodded slowly. Humans left more than machines. They left their legacy, their understanding of conflict and consequence. We are witnessing what remains of that legacy. The fleet moved cautiously toward another colony, this one on the icy moons of Jupiter. Here, remnants of human settlements clung to the frozen surface. Domed cities with energy shields still faintly glowing. Sensors detected structural integrity far above what the Coalition expected from such old technology. Automated systems began mapping intruders, scanning for weaknesses and preparing responses. Corin muttered, "Everywhere we go, the humans left reminders. Every step forward is a lesson, or a trap," Rin shivered. It is not just technology. It is strategy too. They anticipated the future. They knew someone would come eventually, and they wanted to teach us something. Syra activated a holomap displaying the solar system with dots representing colonies and installations. Humans spread their knowledge across planets and moons. It is not chaos, they designed it carefully. Every warning, every defense, every archive is part of a larger plan. Even in extinction, they influenced the galaxy. The Council paused to consider this. None of them had truly grasped the scope of humanity's foresight. Most species measured strength by fleets, armies, or firepower. Humans had measured it by endurance, by strategy, and by the willingness to bear cost without compromise. Then the transmission repeated again. This time it carried a new tone, one of urgency and finality. Every empire believes it is eternal. Every empire falls the same way. The room went silent. The voice, though centuries old, seemed alive, as if speaking directly to each listener. Rin's wings quivered. They were warning us. Not just about themselves, but about anyone who underestimates the cost of war. Corin growled softly. Warnings do not matter if they cannot enforce them. What if this is just philosophy, Syra? What if humans are gone and nothing remains but echoes? Syra's gaze hardened, piercing through the tension in the room. You still do not understand, Corin. Humans built consequences into their legacy. Their machines, their archives, their warnings. They are all part of a strategy to teach anyone who comes after them that war is never free. Even now they shape the galaxy from beyond the grave. The fleet's sensors picked up a disturbance on one of Earth's oceans. An old orbital defense platform thought deactivated had begun transmitting signals, small drones long dormant activated in response to the fleet's approach. They moved silently, scanning, recording, and mapping every ship. Every movement by the coalition was monitored. "This is incredible," Rin said, eyes wide. "They are gone. But they are still fighting. Not for themselves. For the lesson." Corin slammed his hand on the console again, frustration and awe mixing in his expression. Fighting ghosts. Fighting systems left behind. This is madness. If humans were like this, what did they leave for the stars that comes after? Cyrus spoke calmly, yet with a weight that silenced everyone. They left a message not of despair, but of truth. War has a price, and every civilization that ignores this lesson risks paying it themselves. The fleet paused above the ruins, the human voice repeating, now carrying a resonance that seemed to echo in every chamber. "To whoever listens, remember this truth. War has a price you'll regret." Even among the coalition, the words began to take hold. Fear, respect, and awe mingled in their hearts. They realized humanity had not been a weak, primitive species. They were clever, resilient, and determined. They understood the stakes of conflict in ways most civilizations could not. Rin finally spoke, voice trembling with excitement and fear. We have underestimated them. Humanity was not just strong in battle. They were strong in mind and spirit, in the way they thought about survival. Even now they teach us. Even now they shape our understanding of war." Corin remained silent, his mind racing with possibilities. He understood now that this mission was more than exploration. It was a confrontation with the legacy of a species that had refused to yield, even in extinction. Syra looked out over the solar system, her eyes lingering on the ruined Earth. "And this is only the beginning. If we continue to probe, to explore, to claim, we will learn just how carefully humanity measured the price of war." In the distance, automated defenses stirred, archives hummed, and the silent guardians of humanity waited patiently. Centuries of preparation had not gone unnoticed. The human voice repeated once more, a steady, unwavering echo. "War has a price you'll regret." The coalition fleet had begun its journey into the past, but the echoes of humanity promised that the lessons they would uncover could shape the galaxy's future, or bring civilizations to their knees. The galaxy had believed humanity gone, but the truth was far more powerful. Humanity's legacy was alive, hidden in machines, strategies, and warnings, a reminder that war was never a simple matter, and that the cost of ignoring the lesson could be catastrophic. And somewhere deep beneath the ruins of Earth, the human-designed systems hummed in quiet anticipation, waiting for the moment the galaxy would finally understand. The coalition fleet had been in the Sol system for days, scanning, recording, and observing the remnants of humanity. Every step they took seemed to stir more than dust. Sensors picked up faint movements of old machinery, long dormant systems powering up in response to their presence. It was as if the solar system itself was alive, silently watching, calculating, waiting. Among the council, opinions differed sharply. Some advocated patience, careful study, and respect for what they now realized was humanity's extraordinary legacy. Others saw opportunity, abandoned worlds, untapped resources, and technology beyond comprehension. The Voreen Empire, a proud and expansionist civilization, decided that warnings were for the weak. Their massive fleet surged forward, ignoring the coalition's advice. They would claim the human colonies for themselves and reap the benefits. Fleet Commander Varkor, standing on the bridge of the Voran flagship, looked at the display with a confident smile. "Humans are gone. Their warnings are relics. This is our chance. These colonies will make the Voran Empire stronger than ever. Prepare to land on Mars, bring all forces to bear." His subordinates nodded, though some eyes betrayed unease. The warnings were clear. War has a price you'll regret. But arrogance and ambition outweighed caution. As the Voran fleet approached Mars, they noticed subtle anomalies. Atmospheric readings fluctuated unpredictably. Automated systems, long thought inactive, emitted faint energy pulses. Orbital scanners detected shapes moving beneath the surface, small, mechanical, yet organized. Varkor waved the concerns away. "Sensors are old. Mars is barren. No life remains. Proceed with the operation." The first wave of Voran ships descended toward the red planet. Landing crews deployed, armored vehicles rolling over cracked landscapes, weapons at the ready. They were prepared for resistance, but resistance they assumed would be minimal, and then it began. Out of the ruins of the ancient human cities, mechanical guardians activated. Drones, powered by forgotten energy cores, swarmed silently from hidden hangars and tunnels. They moved with precision, targeting only intruders, avoiding the remnants of their creators. These were not mindless machines. Every movement, every tactic seemed calculated to inflict maximum disruption with minimal waste of resources. The Voran soldiers were caught off guard. Their heavy armor could not protect them from attacks they had never encountered. Traps hidden for centuries activated. Automated turrets emerged from the ground. Energy barriers surged up from the streets, and mines detonated in precise, lethal patterns. Varkor's confidence faltered. What is this? He shouted over the alarms. Are these humans? No, Commander, one officer replied, voice shaking. Humans are gone. But they're machines. They fight as if humans are here. They anticipate our every move. The battle raged through the Martian ruins. Foreign forces, far larger and more advanced than the ancient humans, found themselves cut down systematically. Every gain came with loss. Every step forward demanded a price. The humans' warnings were no longer abstract. They were real, immediate, and deadly. Back on Arky's station, Syra and Rin observed the unfolding disaster through live feeds. They underestimated humans, Rin whispered, her voice barely audible. They thought they were extinct. But these systems, they are more than machines. They are a legacy of strategy, calculation, and will. Syra nodded grimly. The Voran Empire is learning the truth the hard way. Humanity did not leave weapons behind for conquest. They left lessons in survival, in consequence, in cost. And now the Voran pay for ignoring it. On Mars, the battlefield grew more chaotic. Voran units retreated under coordinated assaults from the ancient defenses. Energy barriers cut off escape routes. Drones herded soldiers into traps, and automated turrets ensured that no corner was safe. Every advance was met with precise, relentless resistance. Varkor's pride turned to frustration, then to panic. Pull back! Pull back! Regroup at the fleet. But the retreat was impossible. The ancient defenses had anticipated such a move. Orbital weapons, long dormant, fired in precise trajectories to prevent escape. Communication systems were disrupted by interference generated from hidden human technology. The Voran fleet, once confident in their superiority, now floundered under a foe they could not see, could not understand, and could not defeat through sheer force. Syra watched as the Voran soldiers struggled. This is what humans wanted, she said quietly. Not destruction, but awareness. They made the cost of war clear. Every empire that comes here will pay if they do not respect the consequences. Rin shivered. It is terrifying and brilliant. Even in extinction, humans, they control the battlefield. In orbit, the Voran flagship attempted to deploy a strike force against what they thought were isolated systems, but automated satellites powered by ancient AI intercepted and redirected attacks. Drones fell from the skies like silent predators, targeting weapon systems before they could harm the ruins below. Varkor's voice was hoarse with rage and fear. How is this possible? How can they fight, after all this time? One of his officers hesitated, then spoke. Commander, I think it is not them, not humans. It is what they left behind. Machines, AI, and systems designed to endure. They were prepared for this. We triggered their defenses, the truth sank in slowly. The humans had not relied on armies or fleets. They had relied on foresight, planning, and relentless ingenuity. They had engineered consequences into their very world, ensuring that anyone who came after them could not ignore the cost of aggression. The battle continued for hours. Voran casualties mounted at a rate they had never experienced. Every advance was met with a countermeasure, every plan anticipated, every move punished. Slowly, the invaders began to realize the terrible truth. Humans had not left behind ruins, they had left behind a challenge. Above the chaos, the human voice repeated, transmitted across centuries and systems. Every empire believes it is eternal. Every empire falls the same way. The words struck deep, not just in the Voran soldiers, but across the coalition. Fear and respect mingled in equal measure. Humans had vanished, but their will, their strategy, and their understanding of war endured. Varkor ordered a final push, desperate to reclaim control. But the ancient defenses anticipated even this. Automated turrets fired with precision, mines exploded on timed intervals, and drones blocked every escape route. For every Voran soldier who moved forward, 2 more fell. The price of ignoring the warning became clearer with each passing moment. At last, the Voran flagship signaled retreat. The Empire's forces pulled back, battered, demoralized, and humiliated. The human defenses remained untouched in the core of their design, silent, impenetrable, and exacting. Syra turned to Rin, her expression grim but awed. They survived not through numbers or power, but through strategy, ingenuity, and understanding. This is the legacy of humanity. They taught the galaxy a lesson even in extinction. Rin nodded slowly. And the warning. The message. It was true. War has a price. And the Voran just learned it the hardest way possible. Corrin, silent until now, finally spoke, his voice low and thoughtful. If humans were like this in death, imagine what they were like in life. Entire civilizations believed them weak, and yet, they left the galaxy a reminder that strength is more than weapons. Strength is will, strategy, and the cost you are willing to bear. The Voran fleet limped away from Mars, shattered in spirit and body. They had entered expecting conquest and left humbled. The human message, repeated across the centuries, had proven its power. Above the ruins, automated systems continued their watch. Drones returned to dormant positions, turrets retracted into walls, and energy shields dimmed. But the memory of activation remained in their programming. Humanity's lesson had been delivered. The galaxy had witnessed it firsthand. And still the message echoed, soft yet undeniable. Across the void, war has a price you'll regret. The Coalition understood now that this was no ordinary warning. Humanity had vanished, but their influence had not. Every empire that sought to challenge the remnants of their civilization would be measured against the same truth. Sira spoke quietly, almost reverently. The galaxy believed humans were gone, but they left behind more than ruins. They left behind consequences, strategies, and lessons that will endure. Even in death, they shape the future. Rin shivered again, a mixture of awe and fear in her voice. And the Voran, they learned it the hard way, but we can learn from them without dying. That is the power of humanity. Even in extinction, they are remarkable. The Sol system returned to its eerie calm. The ruins stood silent once more, but the echo of battle, of lessons, and of human ingenuity lingered. For those who watched and listened, one thing was clear. Humanity's legacy was not measured in life, fleets, or conquests. It was measured in the consequences of their knowledge, their will, and their unyielding spirit. The galaxy had been warned. The reckoning had begun. The Voran Empire had withdrawn from Mars, their pride shattered and their forces decimated. Yet the warnings of humanity were far from over. Across the Coalition, whispers began spreading. The humans, though extinct, had left something beyond mere machines. Something alive in a way that defied understanding. Sira, the historian, floated above the ruins of Earth aboard the Archie's flagship. She studied the data streaming from every human settlement. Energy signatures, automated responses, defense protocols. But there was something more, subtle and pervasive. Patterns, almost like thought, intertwined with the programming. A presence that seemed aware of the fleet, adjusting strategies and responses in ways no machine should be able to. Syra, Rin said, her voice tinged with awe and disbelief. These systems, they are learning. They are not just machines, it is like they remember humans, like they think. Syra nodded slowly. Yes, we believed humans were gone, that they had vanished without a trace. But what we see now is their consciousness, their minds, their strategies, their experience, preserved and living through technology. The Coalition Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from all major species gathered aboard Archie's station, the tension in the room palpable. Sira addressed them, her voice steady yet intense. What we are witnessing is not just technology. It is a human legacy. Adaptive systems powered by fragments of human minds, memories, strategies, even reasoning. Humanity left a warning, yes, but they also left a presence. A reminder that their understanding of war, of survival, and of consequence extends beyond death. The room fell silent. Some council members looked skeptical. Others were visibly unsettled. Are you suggesting, Karan finally spoke, that the humans, exist in some form? Even now, Sierra's eyes glimmered. Not as they were, not as living beings, but their minds, their will, their last experiences they endure. They built systems that adapt, respond, and teach. Anyone who threatens what they left behind will face consequences, not because humans are alive, but because their legacy enforces it. Rin shivered. It is brilliant. And terrifying. They ensured that the cost of war is understood. Even in death, they shaped the galaxy. The Council realized something profound. Humanity had not merely vanished. They had transcended mortality through planning and intelligence. Their final act was not surrender nor defeat. It was foresight. It was a gift and a warning, combined in a way no other species had ever imagined. To understand the full scope of this legacy, the Coalition decided to investigate one of the largest human archives, located deep beneath the ruins of Earth's capital. Automated transport shuttles descended through broken skyscrapers, entering underground tunnels lined with dormant systems. Energy fields flickered to life, mapping the intruders, cataloging their presence, assessing intentions. As they moved through the tunnels, Syra explained the findings. The humans understood that war is more than fleets and weapons. It is strategy, will, and sacrifice. They encoded that understanding into every system they left behind. Every AI, every defense, every archive is a lesson in consequence. The deeper they ventured, the more intricate the systems became. Holographic projectors activated, showing scenes from human history, battles, tactics, moments of courage, and decisions that defined the survival of their species. But this was not simple history. These projections adapted to the observer's movements, highlighting lessons tailored to each species' strengths and weaknesses. Rin watched, her eyes wide. It's like they are teaching us. Every choice, every move we make. They anticipate it and show us the results. Humans, they are still guiding the galaxy. Syra nodded. They are. And it is intentional. Humanity did not trust that other civilizations would understand war without experiencing its cost. So they built a system that enforces learning. Suddenly the ground beneath them trembled. The systems, recognizing the Coalition's presence and curiosity, activated automated defenses, not to harm, but to test. Drones patrolled the tunnels, energy barriers rose to challenge movement, and holograms projected simulations of conflict scenarios. Koran frowned. This is extraordinary, but dangerous. Even without humans alive, these systems are powerful enough to destroy intruders if provoked. Syra responded quietly. That is the point. Humans wanted the galaxy to remember, to respect the cost of violence. These systems are reminders, not punishments. But any who ignore the lessons will face consequences, as the Vorin discovered. As the Coalition navigated the tunnels, they discovered the heart of the archive, a massive core housing the adaptive AI. It pulsed with energy, as if alive. Information flowed through it at incredible speeds, combining fragments of human consciousness into a single, coherent presence. Rin stepped closer, awed and hesitant. It feels like someone is watching us, not judging, but testing, learning about us, our choices, our understanding. Syra placed a hand on the console. This is humanity's final message. Not just words, not just warnings, but presence. They ensured that the galaxy could learn from them, that the cost of war would never be forgotten. Their extinction was not defeat. It was preparation for the future. The AI pulsed and the human voice spoke again, now through the station systems, clear and resonant. We are gone, but our message remains. Remember us not for how we died, but for how we taught you that war is never worth its price. The council fell silent. The words carried weight, wisdom, and authority. Even without physical bodies, humans had shaped the galaxy's understanding of conflict. Their legacy was more powerful than any empire, more enduring than any fleet. Rin whispered almost to herself. They are teaching, even now. Not to punish, but to guide humans. They are remarkable. Syra nodded. Yes, and the lesson is clear. War carries consequences that must be respected. Humans understood this better than any species before them. Their will, intelligence, and foresight turned their extinction into a legacy that will endure across the stars. The Coalition began to study the AI carefully, Every action, every simulation, every response offered insight into humanity's strategies and philosophy. It was clear, humans had not merely fought for survival. They had fought to teach, to warn, to guide. And now, even in death, they continued that mission. Outside the ruins, the automated defenses had returned to dormancy. Drones settled into their stations. Energy shields dimmed, and the ruins once again appeared silent. But the galaxy had already felt the impact of humanity's presence. The Voran Empire had learned a harsh lesson, and the Coalition now understood that they, too, would need to respect the consequences of conflict. Lyra turned to the Council. The humans have given us a gift. A warning. A presence. We can either ignore it and risk repeating their mistakes, or learn from it, and ensure that the cost of war is never forgotten. Rin smiled faintly. Even in extinction, humans guide the galaxy. That is the true meaning of their legacy. They are gone, yet still strong, still human. The AI pulsed once more, and the human voice spoke, resonating across systems and time. We are gone, but our message remains. Remember, war has a price. The Coalition left the ruins with a new understanding. Humanity's legacy was not merely machines or archives, not merely warnings or data. It was the combination of will, strategy, and consciousness preserved to guide the galaxy. Humans had ensured that their extinction would not be meaningless. The price of war, the cost of conflict, the value of life. These lessons would echo for centuries, and as the fleets departed the Sol system, the stars seemed to shine with a quiet, enduring respect. Humanity was gone from the galaxy, but their influence, their legacy, and their message remained. For those who listened, who learned, who remembered, the final words of humanity would never fade. We are gone, but our message remains. War has a price you'll regret. The galaxy had been warned. Humanity's legacy endured, not as conquerors, not as victors, but as teachers of the ultimate truth. The Voran Empire limped away from Mars, defeated and humiliated. Their soldiers whispered stories of mechanical guardians that had anticipated every move, of drones that struck with perfect precision, and of energy barriers that made every advance costly. The Empire had ignored humanity's warning. War has a price you'll regret. Now they had paid. Back on Arcus Station, the Coalition Council studied the aftermath. Lyra stood before the display, her eyes fixed on the live feeds from Mars. The Voran were reckless, she said softly. They assumed humanity was extinct and weak. But they were wrong. Humanity built consequences into their legacy. Every empire that comes after them will face the same truth if they do not respect it. Rin's feathers bristled as she watched the images of ruined Voran vehicles and deactivated drones. Even in death, humans, they fight. Not for themselves, but for the lesson. That is remarkable. Corin, quiet until now, spoke with a low voice edged with awe. We always believed that strength was measured by fleets, armies, or power. Humans proved something different. Strength is will, strategy, and knowing the cost of every action. They ensured that war cannot be taken lightly. The Council realized that the humans' final act was not a simple message. It was an enduring force, a presence that would teach the galaxy for centuries. Far from the ruins of Earth, other alien empires began to hear of the Voran disaster. Rumors spread quickly, fleets decimated, soldiers lost to automated defenses, and warnings echoing across centuries. Leaders of distant civilizations grew cautious, studying human archives and technology. The name humanity began to inspire a mixture of respect and fear. Some, however, were curious and ambitious. They saw opportunity in the abandoned worlds, believing they could overcome the old defenses with superior numbers and technology. The humans' warning, though clear, was ignored by the most audacious. In the depths of the Martian ruins, automated systems activated once more. Sensors scanned the sky, drones moved through tunnels, and holographic projections highlighted the intruders' positions. The lessons of humanity were ready to be delivered again. One such ambitious empire, the Crelan Dominion, sent a fleet to claim the colonies of Mars and Jupiter. They believed themselves unstoppable, confident that the humans' defenses were mere relics. But the moment they entered the Sol system, the legacy struck. Automated systems activated in perfect synchronization. Orbital defense platforms powered up, energy shields flared across the colonies, and drones emerged from hidden hangars. Every move of the Crelan fleet was anticipated, every maneuver countered, every advance punished. For the Krelans, the cost was immediate. Ships were destroyed, crews incapacitated, and supply lines severed. It was not just war. It was a calculated lesson delivered by machines that carried the memory and strategy of a species long extinct. Syra watched the events unfold from Arcus Station. "This is what I meant," she said quietly. "Humanity's legacy is not passive. It is active. It enforces understanding, teaches consequence, and ensures that the cost of war is never ignored." Rin shivered. "They are teaching. Every empire, every species, not with words alone, but with action. Even in death, humans are still remarkable." Corin's voice was calm but heavy with respect. "We have underestimated them. We always believed they were primitive, and yet they have outlived their extinction. They have turned their knowledge, their strategy, their will, into a force that cannot be ignored." The Krelan Dominion's fleet fell into chaos. Each attempt to strike a colony was countered, anticipated, and punished. Their ships were crippled by automated orbital strikes. Supply convoys were trapped and destroyed. Their forces, confident and proud, were humbled by systems designed centuries ago by a species long thought gone. The Voran Empire's failure had been a warning. The Krelan's punishment was a lesson reinforced. Humanity's presence, encoded in machines, in strategies, in archives, ensured that the galaxy would remember. War carries a cost that cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, the Coalition Council debated the implications. Humanity did not leave weapons merely for defense, Syra explained. They left knowledge, strategy, and consequence. Their legacy is a warning, yes, but also a guide. They teach not through conquest, but through understanding the price of conflict, Rin added softly. And they did it with foresight. Even in extinction, they prepared for the future. They made sure that the galaxy would learn, whether we wanted to or not. Corin's expression was serious. The Voran and Krelans learned the hard way. But we have a choice. We can heed the lesson without facing the same destruction. That is humanity's gift, and their final act of strength. The Coalition decided to spread the human archives, simulations, and strategies to every civilization willing to learn. Wars could be avoided if the lesson was respected. Humanity had not only prepared defenses, they had prepared understanding, a way to guide the galaxy toward awareness of the cost of conflict. In the ruins of Earth, the automated systems fell into dormancy once more. Drones returned to stations, holograms dimmed, and energy fields quieted. Yet beneath the surface, the AI remained alert, its consciousness an echo of humanity watching, learning, waiting for the next test. The human voice, transmitted through centuries and systems, spoke one final time. "We are gone, but our message remains. Remember us not for how we died, but for how we taught you that war is never worth its price." The galaxy listened. Some trembled with fear, some stood in awe, and others began to prepare carefully for the future. The legacy of humanity was no longer just history. It was active, pervasive, and unavoidable. In distant systems, leaders began to reconsider the costs of their own ambitions. Fleets were reorganized, strategies revised, and conflicts postponed. Humanity's lesson had changed the balance of the galaxy, not through domination, not through empire, but through foresight and understanding. Rin turned to Syra. "Even now, I feel proud. They did not conquer the galaxy. They did not survive, and yet their legacy is stronger than any empire. They are human, and that is enough." Syra smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "Yes, Rin. Humanity's greatest power was never their weapons or their armies. It was their will, their intelligence, and their understanding. They made the galaxy see that war is never free, and that the cost must always be respected." Corin stood silently, contemplating the implications. "We have learned a truth that no battle could teach. The strength of a species is measured not only by its survival, but by the wisdom it leaves behind. Humanity has left the galaxy a gift and a warning." The Sol system returned to quiet once more. Yet across the stars, every empire remembered the lesson. The name humanity carried weight, fear, respect, and a profound understanding. They were gone, but not forgotten. Their presence endured in machines, strategies, and warnings. Their message had reached beyond extinction, shaping the choices of civilizations across the galaxy. The galaxy had learned the price of war. And it had learned it from the humans, an extinct species whose wisdom and foresight ensured that their absence would never be meaningless. In the end, it was not the fleets, the armies, or the battles that defined humanity. It was their mind, their will, and their understanding of consequence. They had paid the ultimate price themselves, yet ensured that others would not make the same mistakes. The final transmission echoed one last time through the void, reaching every listening system. We are gone. But our message remains. War has a price you'll regret. Silence followed. The stars glimmered quietly, bearing witness to humanity's enduring lesson. The galaxy would never forget. And somewhere deep beneath the ruins of Earth, the guardians of humanity rested, ready to awaken again if ever the price of war was forgotten. Humanity's legacy endured, not in life but in wisdom, foresight, and the eternal reminder that war is never without consequence.